All right, welcome everybody. This is Barney Kuntze, and I would like to say that I'm shooting live from Canada. And you might say, well, that's cool because I'm listening to the recording. So you were live, and I'm listening to the recording, or you're on with us live here tonight. So if you are on with us live, then welcome. So great to have you. As for those, most of you who know, and in case you don't, I'm the founder and creator of the YLSS Summit. It's a free online event that's dedicated to Young Living 100%, created by Young Living members for Young Living members, just like you. And I'm also a gold leader from Ontario, Canada, and working on platinum and diamond and crown diamond and royal crown diamond and working towards it in the trenches with you guys. And this is something that this summit was a vision that I was given to inspire millions of people around the world. And this is the first couple of steps of the vision as it's getting rolled out. And I'm so grateful to have you guys on the call tonight because we have a special guest as one of our presenters, Shelby Kruse. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of a story about Shelby before she gets a chance to pipe in and share her story. And I just wanted to remind you guys first, before I tell you about where I met Shelby, is that to reminding you that for those of you who have online access, that you can go in, you can get in still, obviously to click on login, and you're just going to go ahead and put in your username and your password into the members area here. And so I always like to use, I use Jacob Adamo's login information. And just because I need to be able to show how it works. So I just want to show you that when you go in, you'll be able to find Shelby's presentation, and you're just going to click on the day that her presentation is on. Now I'd like to ask you because, Shelby, do you remember which day your presentation was on?
Yeah, day 2, I think.
Yeah, here. I thought it was clicked on the wrong day. So you can click on day 2, video 4, and you can click on it. And what's really cool is that literally within 10 seconds from once you sign in, you can access this video anywhere, anytime. When you have the online access, you can show it to a member. You can have a team meeting. Play it for them. It's intended for your personal and professional growth and development, but there are several people who are using them for small group meetings and to be able to utilize all the wealth of information. And so just wanted to make sure that we can remind you where Shelby's presentation is, and then based on your purchases, you'll see different things on the right-hand side here, of course, whether you have the downloads for 2015 and 2016, and then you got access to the coaching calls. So well, we are making the transition into introducing you, Shelby. I wanted to go into a couple things because what we like to do in these calls, on the bonus coaching calls, is really just to kind of in a metaphorical way, kind of break bread, have some fellowship and chat about your presentation, a little bit more about your story, how you kind of got to where you are. And I know I'm kind of meshing everything all at once, but I wanted to share with you guys where I first met Shelby was at a Vibrant Health conference with Sonia Swan, and this one was at this was September, I believe it was, right?
I think so.
Yeah, September 2016, and the summit for 2016 was October the 14th to the 29th. So I met Shelby because she was there. I believe she was doing yoga, and I don't know if you were speaking on stage, but I know that we started talking and you came up and I had a booth there. Sonia asked me to come down and share just a little bit with the group, and it's an amazing event. If you ever get a chance, if Sonia does do Vibrant Health again, it's an amazing, amazing event. She does it world class. She's a diamond leader from Des Moines, Iowa, and she's definitely poured into our life as in my wife and myself and our family and our business and team. And so I was there and I met Shelby and we had a conversation. She said, "Hey, you're that crazy cool guy from Canada." I think that's the words that she chose.
That's exactly what I said. Exactly.
And today, you started the summit and you asked me some questions and one thing led to another. And then next thing you're like, "Okay, cool." And I said, "Yeah, it'd be great if you wanted to share about yoga and your experience." You said that you were really looking up to Tracy Griffiths, the founder and creator of Aroma Yoga, and that you really enjoyed her presentation the first year and how much it impacted you and your business and your life. And long story short, you then came up to me, I think, right at the end and said, "Hey, I'm going to do it." Because I said it'd be great to have you on as a presenter because even if you're still working your way up the ranks, we really love to make sure we can shine the spotlight on people who are in the the lower ranks, so to speak, as they're working up, whether they're at executive, silver, gold, and above, or even at senior star. I think the not that it really matters, but I think the lowest rank in Young Living that was on the summit was senior star or executive on the summit. And it's cool because it's not like you just get to diamond, crown, and royal crown diamond, and then all of a sudden you automatically are just blessed with all this wisdom and abundance of knowledge. It's built and accumulated as you're growing. And
Right.
so I had said that to you, and then you came back and said, okay, let's do it. And here we are, you're on the summit, and I'd love for you to just share a little bit more about your story as I've given you a big, juicy welcome to the call tonight.
It was awesome. Thank you. Yeah, Barney, it took me the whole time to say yes because you freaked me out. This was not something that I ever imagined I was
I love
going to do or maybe even capable of, honestly. So thank you for like forcing me to like believe in myself and believe in my the knowledge that I can share with other people and things like that. So it was super fun, and I've just had the best time. It was seriously a catalyst for me to like jumpstart and really take my business in the direction that I want it to go. And I think that it's safe to say that I'm not completely unique, but I am just definitely approaching my Young Living business from a little bit of a different perspective than what a lot of people are approaching it. So my Young Living business, which is growing, and I think at the time of Summit, I was only star. I am a senior star now, but so I think that was part of it too for me. Like I just assumed that everybody that was in the Summit was like at least a silver or above. So, again, just reminding, a great reminder that no matter where you're at on your journey, you've accumulated knowledge and you have these gifts that you can share with other people. And if I can if I can get more people interested in yoga, and if I can help all of our oily family who are already on a health and wellness journey and already taking steps to like improve their own lives and improve the lives of their friends, if we can add a little bit more mindfulness and a little bit more movement into that journey as well, I just it's been a remarkable path for me to be on. And I never had any intention of building a Young Living business. I know that we hear that over and over and over again from Royal Crown Diamonds and the like. And so it's been really fun. I started teaching yoga. I started practicing yoga over a decade ago, and then kind of came and went from the practice as our life changed, and then we had a baby. And I kind of stepped away from it again for a while because we had this extra human to take care of. And then I kind of got back into it again, and then I had twins, and then I sort of stepped away from it a little bit again. And then actually, once the twins got just a little bit older and I could find the surface again, and I wasn't I wasn't underwater from having 3 kids, then I then I dove into it pretty hardcore, and I started staying home with my children when the twins were a year old, and my oldest was 3 or 4, I guess. And that was when I was really, really dove into yoga. And I took my teacher training. So that's been 3 years ago. I've been teaching it's about a year process. I've been teaching for a little over 2 years. And I've just been having a great time. And right around the same time is when I got introduced to Young Living. So I started my teacher training and I got introduced to Young Living almost within a couple of months of each other, which I just love the synchronicity of all of that. I just love how the universe brings things to our lives at just exactly the right time, and we just get to smush them all together, and then they just continue to blossom. So then about a year ago, for the first time, I finally got really brave, and I decided to teach my first Yoga and Oils workshop. And Tracy Griffiths is absolutely a huge, I totally look up to her. I think she's a total rock star. Her Aroma Yoga book and DVD gave me the courage to do this for the first time. It gave me a place to start. I think sometimes we know so much that it can be a hindrance as well. You don't know which pieces of the information are the most important to share with people in a short amount of time. So her books really gave me the catalyst of courage to get started and figure out what I wanted to talk about and figure out how I could make that my own. And then I went to convention this last year, and I met her and did her yoga in the morning, which was so incredible. And again, I had a complete it shifted things for me again. So I totally I hope I get to see her at convention again this year because I just feel like I need to give her this huge hug. She's really served the love that she's put out and the information that she's put out into the world has been so life-changing for me. So I love her. I think she's the best. So I push people towards her books and DVDs as often as I can because I just think she's really, I mean, obviously she's been doing this for a really long time and she knows her stuff and she really brings something special to the world through what she's doing. So yeah, and so now I've sort of made my stuff my own. I've taken little bits and pieces from that and I'm just expanding things as I go, and new opportunities are presenting themselves. And I've gone from just teaching local workshops to the beginning of February, I launched an online subscription-based streaming yoga and oils opportunity for people to take on, which again is not something I ever anticipated that I would even, like it just wasn't even on the radar. There was nothing, there was no thought of that ever before in my life. So yeah, I'm just so thrilled with the opportunities that Young Living and my yoga journey have like brought forward for me to be able to express my truest self and my highest truth, and yeah, and hopefully share things with other people that makes them feel the same way. So kind of a rambly answer.
Yeah, no, totally. That's awesome. And so I just went to your for those that are interested right now, your site is if you want to check out Shelby's site to learn more about what she's talking about. You can go to yogaandoils.com, but what you're seeing right now, if you're watching this in the replay or live right now, you're looking at yogaandoils.vhx.tv. And long story short, there's just a transition period until that domain or that URL is going to be what we call a clean link. And so that's really cool. So then basically people can go here and start a free trial and check it out. So tell us a little bit more about that and how, just with your presentation, as we kind of use this as a springboard to talk more about the presentation that you did and what was your main goal of your presentation in the YL Summit and how people can use it to, learn more about yoga and oils or just utilize it to grow their business.
Yeah, I think there's just so much opportunity. Yoga is not a small business in this day and age. It's there are literally millions and millions of people who are practicing yoga in some way, shape, or form, and so many different ways to do the yoga as well. But yoga with essential oils, like that's a no-brainer to me. Like that is something that just absolutely positively makes sense. So I don't know why you wouldn't use those two things together. And I just wanted to help encourage other people, first of all, that we can add movement to our lives no matter where we are. We don't have to be in a yoga studio, because I do know from some of my local workshops and in-person communications, I did have the privilege of teaching at Vibrant Health, and I've had the privilege of teaching to a bunch of other cross-line friends and things like that. And sometimes a yoga studio is a really scary place for a beginner to go. And I totally get that, because I was freaked out the first time I went to one too. And honestly, I practice at the same place now every day. But when I started there, even as somebody who had a decade of yoga experience under her belt, I still got nervous. Like, it's just scary to do new things, right? But I want people to know that where you live shouldn't be a hindrance to whether or not you can add mindfulness and movement to your day. So if you live in a super small town and there is no yoga available to you, that doesn't have to stop you. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about yoga. You literally need, a towel or maybe even a yoga mat. I mean, you wouldn't have to have a yoga mat, but you don't need anything to do this practice. You need your body, and you need your intention, and you need some time, and that's it, and your breath, and you can do these things. So I wanted people first and foremost to know that no matter where you're at, you can do it. And I also wanted to make sure that it was super accessible to everybody, because not everybody can bend over and touch their toes right away. That's not a normal thing for every single person to be able to do. So a ton of flexibility is not required in order to start yoga. I think that's the number one thing that I hear from people is oh, I can't do yoga, I'm not flexible. Well, of course you're not. You haven't tried. I can't read Spanish because I haven't learned how to do it, or whatever. You don't do things just out of the gate. As to every single thing in our life, we try it, we practice it, we learn it, and it gets better. So I wanted to make sure that there were some movements, from a chair that everybody could get to, and making sure that everything was super accessible for people who are at the beginning of their journey, so that they can feel. I just want everybody to feel a great sense of success. Like, I have a girlfriend who does not love yoga the way that I do, and that's actually pretty normal. Not everybody loves yoga the way that I do. But she was like, you know what? Like, when I do this, then I feel like I can't fail. But when you ask me to do this, then it starts to get like a lot harder. And I'm like, okay, well, that's really important. Like, I never want somebody to feel like they're going to fail at something. So, like, how can we set this up to be super accessible? So I definitely wanted that to be a piece of it. And then I also wanted the people who are already either using or not using yoga, but who are practicing yoga, or even just other distributors, to know that yoga is a great place, and you should be talking to your studios in your town and your friends who love the practice, and encouraging them to incorporate another level of awesomeness into their practice. The oils help us to just get more. They just align the frequencies of the body in a really beautiful way. They help us to go deeper into a meditative state. They help us to stay focused on the present moment. I mean, we know these things about the oils and what they can do. And when you add them into your yoga practice, they're so beautifully aligned, and it's such a great way to do. And I think in most cases, you'll find the yoga community to be fairly well aligned with what it is that Young Living is trying to do. Like they have similar overarching goals in terms of creating community and building people up and taking care of the people less fortunate than ourselves, and sharing and being present in this moment and stepping forward with your best foot at all times. So
Yeah, very cool. Well, I think that for people who so for me, I may be a bit of an exception, but if you're listening to this and thinking, oh my gosh, like, fitness wise and yoga, and I want to work on my ULA fitness, or I just, I need to get started somewhere, I would recommend definitely checking out this program that Shelby has. Now, I haven't personally started it or tried it myself, but I definitely would like to try it. Why? Because I know that I, being a 235-pound male of rock solid muscle, as I like to tell myself, that I know that I can benefit from more stretching and yoga. And so even if you're thinking, well, I don't know if I want to do yoga, but I know I need to stretch, it's a good way to get into it. And have had some people, for whatever reason, they're like, well, I don't know if I want to do yoga. Like, I don't even know what it is or how it works or what it does. But I'm like, okay, well, it's really, I know there's a lot more, and you definitely have a different opinion on it. But as a fitness guy, I like to suggest people, they're like, oh, well, yoga has more to do like with stretching and focusing on your breath. And as the saying goes, if life is in the breath, those who half breathe, half live. And I find that people who practice yoga on a regular basis, or some sort of stretching with meditative prayer time over focus, it really helps to center and ground the body. And especially when you use your breath, and think of everything that we do with oils. How many times do you use an oil or a Young Living product, with the exception of maybe a very few, limited amount of them, but how many of them do you use and then you smell them, right? You smell the oils. I smell well, maybe not. So like Zing, I wouldn't smell. My Ningxia Red, I wouldn't smell. My Ningxia Nitro, I wouldn't smell. But the cleaner, the toothpaste, deodorant, as weird as it sounds, I do. You're like, oh, wow, that smells so good. And so that's such an integral part. And when you're using the oils and yoga integrated, it takes it to the next level. And I think it is great because it really complements and completes what you're doing, right?
Yeah, it does. And I'm totally awesome with people coming for the stretch, because I think that that's the way that like a lot of people end up getting into yoga is, they have a doctor or a chiropractor or someone in their life recommends that they need some stress relief, or they need this or they need that, and why don't you try yoga, right? Like, just go try yoga. And it's okay to not know what it is. So come for the stretch, but then you're gonna, like, I think what happens is people end up staying for the transformation that they feel, because that's what happens, right? We learn to breathe, and we learn how much fuller and more calm and more present we can be through the breath. And and the oils, they're just that reminder, right? Like sometimes like I mentioned, I have 3 young kids and they are loud. We love in a loud way at our home is the way I always like to talk about that. So they are loud and they are chaotic, and truthfully, like just being a stay-at-home mom, like that is not my heart's truest desire. And so it can be a really stressful situation for me, and I forget to breathe. I know this stuff and I still forget to breathe deeply. But the simple act of like taking it's like a tiny act of self-care that we can throw into our day a gajillion times, right? You stop, you realize that you're kind of freaking out. So you stop for a moment and you grab your stress away roll on and you roll it on your neck, and I roll it on the back of my hand, and I rub it in, and then I stop and I breathe. And I think to myself, oh yeah, well, no wonder I was freaking out. I wasn't breathing. Like I wasn't breathing deeply. I wasn't calm. Like, yeah, calm down, woman. Like, settle yourself down. And then for me, a step further is like if I can get upside down and literally shift my perspective. So if I can like fold forward and put my head below, my heart, or take a downward facing dog stance or something like that, that helps me again just to like to slow down, to get present, to remember that I'm the adult. And like just to like bring it all together and into focus again so that we can start fresh and try again.
Yeah, I think everybody could use it, and just again taking it with the oils, and integrating it, even if you're just getting started, or if you've been using the oils for 19 years and you've been using Young Living since the beginning. I can tell you without a doubt, a shadow of a doubt, that my knowledge of exercise and experience with it, and just with clients personally, professionally, when you use the oils with movement, whether it's stretch or slow movements, or with going to the gym and lifting weights or doing some form of cardio, it just accelerates it and amplifies it. And I've had people ask me, like, okay, great, Barney, but I hear that all the time. Like, I know that you use the oils. I'm like, well, I use the oils. I know that if I use the oils with exercise and like with strength training and cardio and yoga, and like, how does it work? Like, how does it work? And typically it's the green personalities that want to know all the details.
Yeah.
Like, hey, have you tried doing that at the gym yet? Oh, okay, you're not going to the gym. Well, when you do and you are exercising and working out, then just start using them and you'll know,
Yeah.
because I can tell you everything in the world about using them. So can Shelby in her presentation. But until you have that experience and that knowing of what it's like, then you'll be like, wow, it's great. Because I've had people like, don't believe anything I just told you for the last 90 minutes at a presentation.
Yes.
Take the suggestions, test them out, and try it, and then you'll know. And I hope that
Yeah.
that comes like as an inspiration, not to say like, to shame anybody to say, oh, you're not exercising, like shame on you. As an
No, that
inspiration.
is experiential.
Yeah, for sure. That was my.
Yeah, and then if you don't remember to use them before and you're just getting back to the gym for the first time after a little hiatus, then you're for sure gonna want to use them after, right? Like, there's nothing like a little good old Panaway or wintergreen copaiba peppermint mix on our muscles after a good workout. So
That is the
if you
truth.
forget to use them ahead of time, just go ahead and grab the I can't think what the name of it is right now. It just flew out of my head. The pain cream.
Oh,
That stuff is amazing.
yes, the cool pain cream that only
Cool.
everybody
Yeah, yeah.
in the United States can get and Canadians can't.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I did not mean to pour salt in a wound, Barney. I didn't know that. I'm so sorry.
No, that's all right. It's all good. But it is amazing. We did get some when we were in the U.S.
I
and
was gonna say, come down and I'll bootleg you a bottle.
it's um and just well, before I forget, I wanted to pull this up. You had mentioned that, Shelby, about Tracy's site. So if people wanted to learn or to get the book, you can go to her
Yeah.
site, and it's just aromayogaguide.com. It was funny. I actually just typed in aroma yoga because I forgot that she has, or pardon me, that I forgot that she has the URL, like the domain Aroma Yoga Guide, because somebody, and I'm like, oh, that's a cool site. I thought that she has it, and it's in German. Now you can translate it, but it's obviously somebody in German.
Right.
So I have no idea what it is, but it is aromayogaguide.com for Tracy Griffiths. And again, your website is yogaandoils.com when it gets nice and cleaned up.
Yeah, nice and cleaned up. Yeah.
Yeah. So any other, like, what would you say some quick tips are, so just some different creative ways that you could feel inspired to share with everybody and how they can use your presentation to their benefit and utilizing all of your wisdom that's in there.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly it could be a tool for people just to pull up and use on a daily basis to find a there are some, there's specific yoga moves and oils attached with them that I like, and instruction on how to do those specific poses that you could absolutely apply into your life. There's even some sun salutations, so like a small amount of like what we would refer to as like a flow, where you move from one pose to the next with the breath. Those things are in there. So I think just adding a couple of those things into your daily life would really impact the way you feel every single day. Even if it was just like, I think you could take any like nugget of information, just choose one piece of it and pull it out and just choose conscious breath, like you've got pulled up right now, and do that every day. What if you just did that one tiny small thing every single day for 5 minutes for a month, and notice the way it changes your life, and notice the way it changes how you feel about yourself and how your day moves forward, and just these tiny little changes that happen from something as simple as just like thinking about breathing. I love simple, and I love the beauty that is in the simplicity of things. I think a lot of times we try to make things, we don't try, but we make things too complicated because so much information is available to us. But it's literally as simple as sitting down nice and tall
Yeah.
and breathing. And then add your favorite oil to it, like whatever oil it is that you love the most. Add that to it so that you want to do it. Like, let that be the thing that starts your conscious breath every single day. Like, okay, it's time for me to put joy over my heart every day, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to take 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes, and I'm going to slow down and breathe.
Yeah.
So I think.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, to build on that for myself personally, it's like I go through in and out of phases where I do and I don't do it, and I'll go back and forth. But but when it comes to, I mean, obviously breathing on a daily basis, but really I find that when I'm working out, I'll actually do it where I get so focused in what I'm doing, and then I like start breathing deep. It's like I've trained myself to do it. I'm like, wow, like I'm breathing slower because I'm really focused. And I always used to train myself when I'd ride my motorcycle to really focus on my breath. And like, it sounds weird, but become one with the bike.
Yeah, no, it doesn't sound weird to me at all.
Yeah, well, maybe to you, definitely not. Some people listen to this, wow, like that's weird. You're focusing on breathing while you're on your motorcycle, but it's super important because it keeps your senses alert. And my point with this, from a practical standpoint, to what Shelby's talking about, the conscious breath, is that the way I've suggested it for clients in our fitness business is that we call it a peace point. And maybe you could put it in as your conscious breath. But if you put it in your schedule, I actually put it through as a recurring appointment every day, and I had it for 5 minutes. And I actually put it in my calendar as a 5-minute appointment.
It's 21 hours.
My computer's telling us what time it is again. And if you actually put this in, and it does sound unbelievably simplistic and bizarre, and how could it work? But just try it out. Take our suggestions, use the simple approach, and put it in your schedule, and go to Shelby's presentation, or just look at the screen here in the conscious breath and follow the basic instructions. Use your favorite oil. And when that reminder comes up, just give yourself permission to be like, whatever else is happening. Of course, if you're driving and it happens to be during that time frame, then just adjust it. So what I do is, I had said, for 30 days, I'm going to start it as my little challenge, but you could just do as little as 7, and do 1 or 2 blocks of time that you call your peace point. And when it comes up in your schedule, just discipline yourself to find a time of the day that you are in a position where you can actually do that. So if you're working and have to be engaged with clients or customers, or running some sort of equipment or machinery or something, and you can't quite fully do it, then find that time of the day when it's pretty consistent. And then if your schedule changes or life happens, then I call it the drag and drop. You just move it. But you can't eliminate it and you can't skip it. So you can't take it out of your schedule and you can't skip it. And when you do it, it's really cool, because it only takes a couple times where you'll start to really pick up some momentum, and then just use your oil of choice, and you can really get present with the oil through your breath. And then it's actually kind of cool, because sometimes it's easy to just like, okay, you breathe it in. Oh, that smells so good. The lavender, the peppermint, the lemon, or the frankincense, or whatever. But it is very common where people will where they will inhale the oil, but they'll go like they're just like it's just like put fuel in the tank, so to speak. It's just a means to an end. So they just breathe it in. They don't actually like really sit with it. And granted, I have a bit of the case of a monkey mind or the flashy object syndrome. I'm like, what's that over there? And I get easily distracted.
Squirrel.
Yeah, squirrel. And so then this is good because it actually helps to bring your focal point in onto your breath. And when your breath is regulated in the body, your energy is regulated. When your energy is regulated, you feel better. And when you can tie and anchor that to an oil of your choice, whether it's the same oil or different ones, it's really cool. So it just takes that experience to the next level, all through something that you can do anywhere, anytime, with anybody, at any, like, no matter where you're at. And in fact, that's how I introduce people to the oils, is using peppermint specifically, by encouraging to do that. So I don't know if you would call that like a yoga practice per se, but it is focusing on your breath, which is helping people to step a little bit closer towards that and maybe finding their own groove.
Yeah, I would totally call that a yoga practice. I think any time that you are intentionally and consciously slowing down and considering the breath, like that's absolutely part of practicing yoga. Yoga has like it looks, people think it's what they see on Instagram, right? Super bendy, twisty, crazy poses and things like that, but it's really not. It's almost it's just a discipline, right? It's another way for you to get to know yourself and to get to know your body and to slow things down, and to soften, actually. I mean, that's kind of the way that I think of it. I think of my yoga practices kind of like either as like peeling an onion, or just as me like trying to soften into the reality of the world and my life, and figuring out like what, watching the things that go around me, but not necessarily feeling the need to react to every single thing, right? But the breath, like it all starts with the breath. And I love that you call it a peace point. And I so agree with you that if it's not scheduled, like it doesn't exist. Like because good intentions, oh man, we can have just the absolute best intentions, but if it's not on your schedule and it's not something that you've made the time to fit in, then it's going to get, it's just the reality. Like it's just going to get bypassed.
Well,
So I love that. Love that suggestion.
yeah, and you might be able to get beyond that, or just get it to the point where it becomes so automatic, that
Yes,
it just
but not
happens.
at first.
So, yeah, but there's just the power of scheduling it in. And speaking of which, I've been speaking to some of you VIP members with the summit, where you've purchased the flash drive or the digital downloads, and it's kind of like, oh, I bought the flash drive or the summit and I fell off and I got into this and got into that and I haven't went back to the presentations. And there's some people that have been listening, but they've been inconsistent. And so then I just said, well, why don't you just carve out some time during your week, and even it just take 15 minutes a day, or 20 minutes a day, or two 30-minute, or three or four 30-minute time blocks a week, and block it in, and schedule it out. So then that's a time for you to study, because you can really get through a lot of material, and just study the stuff that you're really passionate about, want to learn. And you can use this actually when you're learning. You can use your breath, focus on your breath. Going back to this conscious part, where what you're learning and using an oil, to be really activating your memory intake system, so to speak.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. I see Carol says she's totally going to try the 30-day calendar entry. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just
Do it. Do it, Carol. And then follow up with us, please. Like, let us know how you feel after 30 days, because I feel like if you stick with it for 30 days, I can like guarantee you that you're going to notice a difference. And it might be subtle or it might be huge, but
yeah.
it'll be
But
super awesome.
you never know if you don't try. And the cool part is that it doesn't cost anything, right? It's the lungs
Right?
been God's given us, that have been really, when you think about it, I mean, it's honestly something like easy to just pass on by. But I mean, without your lungs functioning, and I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but your lungs, like your body, just the innate intelligence that's been put into our body by God, by our creator, has been put into our body to just function. And our lungs just pump the oxygen in and out of our body.
It's
And
so
if you
amazing.
really start to think about it, it is pretty bizarre, you'll if you want to meditate on it or pray about it or focus on it, whatever works best for you, to just think about that statement that life is in the breath. Those who half breathe, half live. And if you're able to do that, I think it's pretty remarkable. And what's so cool about it is that it's just you can do it anywhere, anytime. So even if you can't be like in the total like Zen space or a yoga space or in like a super quiet room and you got four kids running around and they're loving loud in the room and in your house and you're like, oh my gosh, I just need to take a breathing space, but I can't escape the chaos in my outside world or whatever's going on. You can still do that. So when you're driving or when you're in the grocery line, if you're waiting in line at the grocery store or wherever, that you can focus on your breath. And it's actually kind of a cool, fun little challenge where if you do it to fit it in to your schedule, it gives you a sense of accomplishment and it doesn't cost anything. So.
Right. And I honestly think like learning to do it around the chaos is really like that's like putting it to work. Like going to like, for me even like I know that going to a yoga studio to practice my yoga, that's almost a cheat, right? Like it's easy. Like that is the only thing we do there. There is no distraction. So like of course I can do my thing there, but doing my yoga practice in my living room with my 4-year-old twins, throwing snowballs at me, or like the not real snowballs obviously, but like the pretend ones, sorry, little balls, throwing balls at me, or playing Legos or playing cars, or whatever they're doing around me, like to carve out the time to do it there, that's harder. It's way harder and it's a much different experience, but that's what I'm doing it for. Like that's why I'm practicing in a quiet place so that when I get back to the noise, I can stay calm and I can stay present and I can stay focused and yeah, and like it's so awesome. So I really love it. I just
Yeah.
love the way the oils just pull you in deeper to whatever your experience is. No, like you said, like whatever type of a fitness thing you're doing, like even if it's, going for a walk outside, I'm all in for an inexpensive or free way to move your body. And tune in to nature. And so like whatever it might be, but like so the next time you go for a walk, put a little peppermint oil on your chest or on the back of your neck, or take some lavender with you, because I also think that the oils smell really even more amazing when you get out into nature and you allow them to connect with like their natural habitat and things like that. Things just smell different outside. So yeah, just use your oils and use your body, and yeah, and be ridiculously grateful that this thing just works, and then and give it a little love by focusing on those things that just work. Like if you think about your heart too, like sometimes I really focus in on my heartbeat and the fact that like that just does, like it just goes. I got
Yeah.
no control over that. It's so amazing. It's so humbling. It's yeah.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that before we've definitely talked it up and encouraged everybody who's listening now and in the future in this replay to really feel inspired to want to get things into action. And it's really just to do it. I know that it is certainly there's a propensity for the feeling to creep in as though there's all this stuff that I need to do, and or I've got to do this breathing and the peace point and the conscious breath, and I've got to do my all the other things that I have my obligations for that I need to do or would like to do or should do. But I think that I wanted to impart some of my coaching experience, building off of what Shelby has been sharing with us all tonight, is that it's a great question if you're willing to write this down when you're breathing and to ask yourself this question where it would say, what is no longer serving me in my life, or possibly who, and not so much what should I take what should I take, but what can I take away? So I find that sometimes it's like, oh, I got to take this oil and that oil, and I've got to do this breath and this exercise program, or this and this and this, and it can really feel overwhelming for people. And so it's just empowering to say, well, what can I take away? And maybe there's certain things in your life that you can take away and remove, and just give yourself the permission to focus on that during your breath and with your oils. And it's pretty cool because only you'll know. You can have that inner meditation to have your some people would say your higher self would speak it to you, or God would speak it to you. And I think that regardless of how you interpret it, it's you're getting what you need out of it. And it's just kind of cool because you basically can just say, okay, awesome, it's amazing. And not only what can I take, but what can I take away so that I don't feel that way if you are feeling that way.
Yes, I think that's so important. And I think that's a lesson that we just have to keep. It's not a lesson, it's a practice, right? Like that's just something that we have to keep coming back to every single day and every moment too. Like how can we um, just how can we simplify everything, right? Like how can we just get by with what we need, and it get rid of a little bit of the excess and just focus in on
Yeah.
the moment and what you need and yeah. And so the other part of it would be that like if I think I give throughout the presentation some ideas of different oils that you can use, but at no point please don't allow that to be any kind of like a hindrance to you. Like I think we all know this, and I hope we do, but like use what you have, right? Like literally, if you have one in your bag or your pocket, and it's not on the list, who cares? Just grab one and use it. It doesn't matter what it is. It just matters that you do that and that you add that extra layer of intention over the top of it. And that's the beautiful thing about Young Living and the oils is, just how wonderfully adaptive they are, and that every one of them will give you exactly what you need in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree. And I think that when you really embrace it, you find your groove, use your oils, and share that with others because there's a lot of people, if you can give yourself the permission or the opportunity to just go sit on a street corner or on a bench on a street corner, don't sit right on the street corner, or in a
Right.
mall, and just observe people as they're walking by. I know I've had talked to some of my friends who live out in BC, and they're just like they came back to Ontario and they're like, man, the vibe here is the pace here is so much different than it is in BC, and it's just different. There's certain areas of the world that there's different vibes to,
Hmm.
and we obviously all kind of we are exactly where we need to be, where we are supposed to be, and as the saying goes, we grow where we're planted. But I say this just because then you can see how it's a common. There's a lot that people are challenged with, and even at the outside, they look like they're well put together. There's still a lot of the inner challenges,
Yeah.
or chatter that can go on. Which Carol had just asked this question here. Well, will this help with the chatter in my mind? I seem to go in many directions, both physically and mentally at the same time. And I just had to chuckle when I read that. And sometimes at night, my mind is still chattering. So should I do the 10-minute breathing before break, right before bed, or before she retires or to bed? And I would say absolutely, positively. In fact, if that's the only time that you do it,
Yeah.
then that would be amazing because it sets your body in the mindset. In fact, I've had many clients who have had issues, not, they're not able to lose weight. They can't, not achieve their ideal body shape, or just in general, or they do lose weight and they do get fit and in shape, but they're still having this inner angst where they just don't feel rooted and grounded. And some people say, well, you're not, maybe living your life's purpose, or there could be a whole host of interpretations of what could be the issue. But what I found notably and has been the most consistent is that people do suffer from what we call monkey mind, which means that the mind is a very energy consumptive organ. And when it's used too much in the left brain, logical, analytical thinking, or when you're just making decisions or choices, that's the left brain. And what's awesome about yoga and what Shelby teaches in her presentation and her work and her program, if you can back me up on this, Shelby, or kind of
Hmm.
support what I'm saying in a way that is, if you're in agreement with it, is that it helps you to get more in touch and in tune with your right brain, to bring the
Yeah.
balance between the right and the brain, the left and right brain, and keep that more balanced. And so I would say absolutely, Carol, if that's the only time you can do it, then that's great. If you can do 1 or 2 minutes during the day and then 5 minutes before you go to bed, a little tip for you is if you close your eyes and then hold your tongue in your mouth, so your lips are closed and your eyes are obviously closed, and you're going to inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose, but you're going to hold your tongue so that you don't let it touch your cheeks or anywhere else. So you basically just try to not let it touch anywhere else in your mouth, and it sounds kind of silly, but the reason for that is that it gives you a focal point, um, so that you don't have to, that you have somewhere to focus, um, your thoughts. And when you do that and you're focusing on your breath, it's really cool because you will fall asleep. And I've had many clients who have had issues with sleeping at night, and it creates a whole host of other issues. And when they fix that, get really fixated on that with their breath before they go to bed, and focus on it, they sleep better, they sleep deeper, they wake up more refreshed, and they get more rested because their mind has been able to focus and calm down because they have a single point focus, which is on their breath and keeping the tongue in the root or in the center of their mouth so it doesn't touch anywhere. And so would you say, as Mrs. Yoga Extraordinaire, would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I would totally agree with that.
Okay.
I think it's absolutely a great time to like work something else into your day. And then if you wanted to, like if your goal is 10 minutes a day, maybe you can even try to start your day that way too. Because I really find that like when we mindfully and intentionally start our day, it just sets us up better. And doing it first thing in the morning might help you to make sure to make time for it before you go to bed too, because sometimes at the end of the day we sort of just collapse, right? Like we've gone and we've done and we've literally run in so many different directions all day long, whether it's like physically going and doing things or just trying to mentally keep up with all of the things that are happening inside of the brain. Like it really, if you can do it 2 times a day, a little bit in the morning and a little bit at night, I think you'll love it even more. But yeah, just whenever it is that you can fit it into your schedule, I think it's great. And I definitely think that it will help you to sleep better and to feel better. And I think, Carol, if you look towards the end of the presentation, I do talk just a little bit about like what like a mindfulness meditation is, and that's kind of like the direction that we're talking with things without actually using that term. So if that term freaks you out, then just let it go, and don't hold on to that part of it. But the idea of it is just that like we do have these monkey minds, and we are going in so many and pulled by so many distractions throughout our day that if we can just take time, maybe just even just to be aware of the chatter that's happening inside of our brains, like, but we constantly, like Barney was saying, we constantly use the breath to bring ourselves back to the present moment. So you just sit, you grab an oil that you like, whichever oil you have that you love, use that one. Like truly, you can't do it. There's no wrong. So just grab your favorite one or grab a different one. Grab the one that feels the best to you that day and in that moment, and use that. So grab your favorite, calm down, grounding, sleepy feeling oil if you're going to do it right before bed. But then you just literally you focus on the breath, and when the mind starts to wander, you just notice that it wandered, and you bring it back to your breath. It's so simple. It's really beautiful. There's just nothing more to it than that. You breathe, you focus in on the breath. You can think about the tongue. That's really cool. I've never thought about like I think about the position of my tongue in terms of like the tenseness that it adds to my face, right? Like if my tongue is at the roof of my mouth, and then my jaw gets kind of clenched, and then my brow gets kind of furrowed. You know what I mean? Like I think about like the way it relaxes there. So I oftentimes think about releasing my tongue from the roof of my mouth, but I've never thought about just like holding it in a space. So that I'm totally going to try that, Barney. That was really interesting.
Yeah,
But like, yeah,
it's something that's so like it is kind of funny because like, oh, that's weird. Like think about holding my tongue in a certain position. You don't have to hold a certain position. Just try to, or don't have it. You don't have to like if it touches the roof of your mouth. But when you're lying down and you're going in through the nose, out through the mouth, and then you just have it so it doesn't touch anywhere else in the mouth. Obviously it's going to be touching like the bottom and certain parts, but like the tip of the tongue and
right,
the main
right.
part. And what's silly about it is that when you really focus on your breath and you do that, it allows you to bring that single point focus onto your breath. And then what I pulled up here was this gratitude list before bed, which I was given by a life coach and a mentor of mine, who's also my chiropractor that I've been going to for about 15 years. And this is something that's really cool. I mean, you can adapt this and adjust it for your meditation prayer time. Some people like to do their prayer time before bed, or do read the Bible or whatever works for them. And so I like this because it doesn't matter what your religious or spiritual affiliation is. It's really cool because you can make it work, and adjust this for yourself. But before you go to sleep tonight, begin by giving thanks inwardly. Remember everyone who helped you today. Picture them in your mind's eye and thank them for their support or challenge, niceness or meanness, or simply their presence in your life. Identify that they were teaching you, or what they were teaching you, and how and what they were balancing. continue until you feel grateful for all in your day, until you see both sides are perfectly balanced and both are love. Going to sleep with a grateful, open heart is a powerful healing practice. Your dreams will become more inspiring, and you will awaken in the morning with a lighter state of mind. And I'm going to do this again tonight because I do, and I think of I'm grateful for this, and this is really challenging and painful, and that person said this or did that to me or whatever. I think they did, and I would get frustrated. But then when I think, okay, I'm just grateful because what they were really teaching me was to be more clear about directions or communications or boundaries or whatever. But it's easy to just say, oh, well, they're an idiot. They said something that really ticked me off. And so, not to add too much to it, but I think that it's actually something where literally these few things can shift a lot for you in your life.
That's awesome. It makes me think about the things that I think that I've heard Gary say about forgiveness oil, just like forgiving yourself first and then forgiving the other person and allowing them to forgive you. And like, it just, that's what it reminded me of, like when you were going through it. It's really awesome. And will you send it to me? Because I really like it and I want to start using it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll send it to you. And if you're seeing it on the screen, a good practice for you, I will send it and I'll put it in the email and say, hey, here is the copy and paste text from the call, and you're gonna have to listen to it right to the very end to hear what I said about it. It'd be kind of fun to watch people listen to the presentation. Yeah. But another good really last final piece on this is to listen to it again, and then you can type it out and you can kind of make it into your own words a little bit, because some people are like, ooh, I don't like this, so I'm going to say it this way. And you just say it, and maybe you just could say, I thank God for everything, that all the people that put in my path, in my space, in my life, whatever. You just got to find your own groove, and just
absolutely.
Just
yeah, the words should not be a hindrance. They should just be yours, whatever feels the best to you. So I was going to mention too, we were talking about left brain and right brain, and the left brain is the language center, and it sort of teaches us the I amness, and then the right brain is more like the oneness that we all have. And there is a really incredible TED Talk that's done by a brain doctor. She had a stroke, and her name's Jill Bolt Taylor, Boltetaylar, Lor. Sorry. Anyways, it's fantastic, and I think it's called My Stroke of Insight. And she literally goes through the process where she had this stroke, and she talks about like the way that these two different things happen. It's a pretty short TED Talk. I'm going to say like definitely under 20 minutes. I've watched it 2 or 3 or a dozen times. I'm not sure how many, but it's just really, yes, that's it right there. It's really incredible. And it talks so much about the left brain versus the right brain, and what her experience is. While she's not a yogi, or she's not talking about yoga specifically, it really like sort of underscores like the opportunities within. I don't know. It makes sense to me as a yogi. What she's saying on a really high level, and so like I just love that, and I think what she's offering is really beautiful, and that she had this experience, and then she's brave enough to go out and to like let people's to shine light on it for other people so that they can be experienced by it. So it's just really an interesting. It's not specific to yoga or essential oils at all. I know it's a little bit random, just to put it out there, but like in terms of really inspiring and beautiful things for you to watch that you'll walk away from feeling changed, like this is a really beautiful way to spend a few minutes of your time and thinking just more about what the body is capable of, and the fact that it just does these things, and then they don't, and then it doesn't, and how that can change. So
yeah, no, for sure. Well, it's I don't know what's going on. It's not loading up on my computer here, but I did type it in, and you can see it. It's My Stroke of Insight by Jill Bolt Taylor. And you can see this on the screen, or her name is Jillbolte, and then Taylor, Taylor. So definitely check that out. And that's the cool part. I mean, it doesn't have to be just about about oils and yoga. It's cool because there's so many things that do come into it. And that's what's so cool about having the gratitude for this community in Young Living, and we could say maybe this sub community with the YL Success Summit, as we continue to grow and want to support you guys. We have some exciting things coming down the pipeline. As we wrap this call up, I do want to give a couple short little pieces of just tidbits that's coming. If you guys are listening now, still live, then thank you so much for blessing me and myself and Shelby with your time, the greatest and most precious resource that you'll ever have that once spent, or that you ever have that once spent, you'll never get back. So it's your most valuable time. And I hope that it's really blessed you and empowered you. And I truly believe that it has or will. And so Shelby, any final words or closing thoughts that you'd like to share with the group? And then I'm going to go into a couple just really short announcements.
No, I just thank you for the opportunity to talk about two things that I just am absolutely over the moon about, and to share my thoughts about them with this community. What you've built is really it's really inspiring, Barney. I'm really honored to be a part of it. And I thank you for, just giving me an opportunity to hang out here. And then for, friends that are listening now, or listening on a replay, just know that, like, if you have questions about ways that different things can work, or how you can do things, please reach out to me. I'm on Facebook. My Facebook page is Yoga and Oils Life. Or if you just search for Shelby Kruse, just message me and let me know if there's something that I can do to help support you in your journey. I'd be honored, to be a tiny little part of your life. So thank you.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Shelby. I really appreciate it. And I know everybody else has too. And I know Carol had said here, just saying that she was practicing holding her tongue in space as she listens to us speak. And this will really—
That's awesome, Carol.
Yeah. And what's cool about it is that I've had clients that have come to us that have spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying different medications, different programs or therapies to try and help them to get rid of their monkey mind and focus. And the one thing they come back to, and people are like, I had to go through all of that, and then I come to the gym to get in shape, and here I come to you share this with me, and it completely changes my life. And I'm like, yep, that's cool. So let's keep rocking and rolling. And it is that powerful. So enjoy that, Carol, and everybody else who takes us up on the little challenge for the 30-day Peace Point schedule, using your conscious breath, listen to Shelby's presentation, and also breathing in, ideally through the nose, and then out through the mouth, or in through the nose and out through the nose, especially if you're going to practice the little single point focus of holding the tongue in space. And so the announcements is— there are a couple things. So first of all, the Wild Success Summit is going to be— the tentative dates, as of right now, we're going to be finalizing this in the next couple weeks, but it's going to be October the 1st to the 14th, 2017, and nice and clean, just like we did it in 2015, the 1st to the 14th. We found that when we did it at the last part of the month, it was a little chaotic, especially as we all know with Young Living, there's month end and there's lots of craziness involved there. So we find that the first of the month is really, it's going to be how everybody get a big boost. And typically September, October, November can for the most part, be some of the biggest months in the business growth. So I really plan on having that. We saw a huge growth spurt in our business September, October, and then being at the high point in November of 2015, and then again in 2016. And I think it's just because all the energy, everybody's kind of getting aligned. And if you can't make it to convention, then the summit is for you, because you can do it at the comfort in your home. You can be rocking out in your PJs. You can be, doing whatever you got to do and listen to the summit from your comfort in your own home, but don't let that hold you back from going to convention, because you need to go. And if you're going to be there, I'll be there at the vendor sharing event for the 2 days. So you can come and meet me in person if we haven't already met. So that's the summit. And then also we are doing an animal wellness summit. It is not directly going to be affiliated with just Young Living Oils, because the consensus of the presenters that had kind of approached me to say, hey, can you help us with this? And I said, sure. Is that they want to take the message to the world in a way that they can empower people who need to hear about the oils, can do so through the summit. But because we have to be very conscious of the compliance department, we don't want to draw anyone's attention, which means that we're going to be talking about the oils, or the presenters are. And if they're talking about it, they'll be talking about Young Living, and it will be compliant. But it's going to be anything and everything to do with, as some people refer to them, their little fur babies, but mainly focusing on dogs, cats, and horses, so the companion animals. It doesn't mean that we're going to have any others. That doesn't mean that it's going to exclude anything else, but we're really excited about that. And that's, as of right now, that's scheduled for November. 2017. So that'll be after the YL Success Summit. And there's that. And then also we are working on an app. So what that's going to be in a nutshell, and Carol, you had asked what the date was again for the YL Success Summit. It's October 1st to the 14th, 2017. And then the Animal Summit, and these are tentative, but I'm about 98% certain that this is the date. And then for the Animal Summit, it's going to be sometime in November 2017. But the app that we're looking at building right now, based on the feedback that we get from the community, mainly the people who are paid subscribers or VIP members, like you guys listen to these bonus calls live, and for the most part in the future, is that we really just want to bring, we found that there's a big gap between people buying and being interested in the information, but then they go to it for free and it's amazing, it's awesome, and it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to fork out X amount of dollars, or I don't have the money, I'd like to, but I don't have it right now, or I have the money and I can do it, and then I bought it and then I didn't use it, or I've had it and I didn't get as most out of it as I would like to. And so we've recognized that, and it hasn't been really like in the form of complaints, because people have been so like gracious and super appreciative of it, because there's really nothing else like this in the Young Living community, let alone in other markets. But just imagine what it'll be like if you can just simply download an app like Audible, and that you can simply pay a very nominal amount per month as a subscription, and then you would have access to certain levels of content. So we're not entirely sure how that's going to look, but let's just say it's like, $14 or $19 a month, where you would have access to the 2015, 2016 presentations, and you'd never be able to download them, but you'd have access to them at the touch of your fingertips, where you wouldn't have to put them on your computer or have them on a flash drive or any of that. Just subscribe to it, just like Oily Tools in a way, but instead of getting access to the reports from your back office, you'd have access to the presentations, and then that it gives you the power, like, hey, you're at a friend's place, or you want to show somebody, like, hey, here's this really cool presentation. You have 15 minutes right now, or do you have 20 minutes or whatever, watch this presentation. It's right on my phone, and it'll be the audio and the video and possibly the transcript. So that's what we're working on. And we haven't told anybody else other than you guys live and on the call. I haven't even actually told the presenters yet. So this is top secret information.
Awesome.
I need to get it secure and finalized before we announce it, mainly because we're still asking to see if there's enough interest. But because it's a very, very large investment to put this out there. But I wanted to ask you, Shelby, what are your humble thoughts and honest thoughts on something like that? Do you feel like that would serve you and other people that you know in Young Living in a way that would be beneficial?
I do. I think the more accessible we can make the content from the summit, because it's so good. It's so good. Like, there's so much good stuff
I know.
in the summit. Then the more accessible we can make it, and like, right? Like, it's about, like, we're just going back to that. Like, I think simplicity is our theme for the night, Barney.
That's
But
right.
like, just it's simple, right? Like, it's in your pocket at all times. You have it. It's right there for you to use, and that's a really powerful tool for people to have in terms of building their business and knowing their oils, and how easy to share. Like, I kind of can't believe that I had never considered like using one of these videos as a sharing opportunity instead of just for myself. Like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? So going to like set up a class.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So last little tidbit on that. So those are my announcements: the YL Success Summit, and thank you for the feedback, Shelby, on
Yeah.
that. The Wild Success Summit, the Animal Wellness Summit, and then the app. We're really excited about it, mainly because we really, as we polled several hundred people, the biggest thing that came back is it's not that they're not interested in it, it's just that they just didn't have the cash, or they just didn't have it. It's not like it's $10. It's ranges anywhere between 177 to now $340. But when you divide that up, all the presentations, it's dirt cheap. It's just that it comes down to, like, do I have the money right now to invest in my future, my business, my education? But what you were saying there about that is that that's actually a lot of what originally we intended it just to be for Shelby Kruse as a person, individual, a business builder, a new product, a passionate product user in Young Living, and to just use it for your own education. However, then we had people asking, like, hey, this is great. I can use these for my presentations, and can we get the PowerPoints? And so we never included the PowerPoints because that was never intended. Because frankly, if we had to do that, or not had to, but if we did that from all the presenters, you probably, for them, a number of presentations, it probably would cost over $1,000 for all the presentations. And I don't think most people are at this point right now. Not everybody. It's not for everybody to make that sizable of an investment. So what my point was is that we do want you to, if you're using them, to use them in your small little classes. So having 3 to 5 people, a little one-on-one, a little cup of tea, like, hey, Mary, come over to my place on Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. We're going to have tea. We're going to talk about yoga and oils. And they come over like, hey, great, awesome. So what are you going to be teaching us about yoga and oils? Well, like, I'm not, but Shelby Kruse is. Okay, sit down, get your pen and paper, and pop on the computer and play it. Boom. Okay, it's done. 41 minutes. After this, hey guys, what'd you like best about it? Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Like, I'm totally going to do this. And what did you talk about? Like, that was really cool. And use these as tools to let them do the talking. And that's really what it was envisioned for. And so that you can use it. It's just not like if you go to a big presentation or like a big, 50 or 100
Right.
people, I guess technically you could. It's just, it's not, the videos aren't scaled for resolution for that high, but a small, like a computer, a little screen, it'll work really well. So.
No, it's genius. I just can't believe that I just didn't put my brain in that space. I've actually had somebody say, "Oh, I'm going to use your online streaming yoga and oils classes to host a yoga and oils class in my town." Like people who have asked me to come but are states away, and there's financial hurdles to jump over in order to like get me there. I'm like, "Oh, just yeah, let's use the site. Like use your subscription site and invite people to come over to your house and do yoga with you and use your oils." And
Yeah.
yeah, that's a fantastic experience to have. Of course, I love when people think outside the box. It's fantastic. You totally made my day.
That's why you're we scheduled you for on the call tonight.
Cool. It's awesome.
Awesome. Okay.
It's really exciting.
Yes, absolutely. Now I'm like, I was excited before, but now it's like 20 to 10 and I'm like, I'm gonna have to go practice my peace points and my breathing.
You're gonna have to hold your tongue.
I gotta hold my tongue
Literally in the
here to get myself wound down for sleep. But I sleep pretty good, so it won't take me long when I lay down and I'll be out. So I just want to say thank you again to everybody coming on the call live and listening in the future. May you be abundantly blessed and highly served in taking this information to the world and the people that are of need of it, because you are helping not only me but everybody else who's involved with this summit. That's been amazing. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about any of us. It's about all of us. So thank you for walking along with us. And we take the torch of Young Living for greater wellness, purpose, and abundance. And I wish you guys an amazing night, day, weekend, or just an amazing experience in life. And we will see you at another presentation or at convention or somewhere along the way in our journey of life.
Cool. Thanks,
Thank
Barney.
you again, Shelby. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. We'll see ya.